Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for a Tuesday slate. A robust, a rousing 15-gamer. Adam, we have four different turbo slates. If you're playing on DraftKings, there's an 8 o'clock, a 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and then a late one. That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Let me just double check. Oh, plus the mains. No, those are four turbo slates. 7:05, 8:05, 9:40, and 10:07. The games come out at 6 at 7 o'clock, 4 at 8 o'clock, 5 in that 9:40 or later hour, with one being at 9:40, and then four 10 o'clock games on the West Coast. So your currently winnings are going to change if you're an East Coasty resident and go to bed early. So we'll see what happens. But we'll go game by game here, focusing on the pitchers. We'll throw in a few price points here and there as we compare to the various sites. Reminder, we are brought to you in part by Yahoo. You can check out the Yahoo deposit bonus by going to any of the spotlight hitters and pitchers articles that appear for free daily on Awesemo.com by yours truly. Third paragraph has the link and instructions on how you can claim your initial deposit bonus up to $30 in YSRPs. Those are Yahoo Sports reward points, and they are available for immediate use into any contest as cash. All right, Adam, now that we got all that stuff out of the way, starting off with the first one here, we have the Philadelphia Phillies at the Washington Nationals. Wait for it if you've heard this one before. There's rain in the area tomorrow afternoon as we record this on Monday night, and they're still dilly-dallying around, and they have not started the game, and we're an hour and a half past first pitch.
Yeah, always fun when the Nats get to make decisions regarding the weather.
They make whatever the wrong one is for DFS is my best assessment of that. But we do have Zach Eflin. This is not a misprice. 10,100 on DK. It feels like a misprice. On the other side, you have Eric Fede, who is coming in at 5,900. I really don't have any interest in either of these guys. If anything, I would give consideration to the hitters, both from the right side and the left side, there for the Phillies. They've got Jay Bruce, who's a little bit dinged up, JT Realmuto, who's a little bit dinged up. So if they're in the lineup, they should be good to go. Bryce Harper, of course, does have that home run upside, but I don't want any of the pitching here. Am I overlooking something with Zach Eflin being 10,100?
No, I don't think so. Not a high strikeout guy. Tough matchup against the Nats. Not a terrible pitcher, but I think he's pretty clearly overpriced, and I'm not really interested in going there. I'd much rather get to some left-handed power from the Nats, specifically Juan Soto, who's $4,100 on DraftKings. That's a really, really bad price tag in terms of just it's not even close to being accurate. So I think Soto is a really, really undervalued hitter. Adams is a good play. You even have a really cheap catcher option, right-handed, but Yan Gomes at 2,500. You know, it's a position where anytime you can get someone cheap that has any semblance of power, it's not a bad idea, and Gomes gives you that.
All right. More realistic price point for Eflin is over here on Yahoo, where he is 39. Regardless, I am still not that interested in him. Of course, we have 28 more to go, so let's move along and see if we can find what we like. We have Daniel Norris for Detroit. They are in Pittsburgh taking on the Pirates. Mitch Keller taking the bump for the Pirates. I believe no relation to Brad Keller, by the way. For those of
sure
you
as hell doesn't pitch like him.
Yeah, for those of you wondering at home, but I believe Mitch actually has a brother who plays outfield, if I remember correctly. I was trying to look this up to see if there was a connection. I did not realize how many Kellers were actually in AAA and above here for MLB, but I thought that was kind of funny. Daniel Norris, 5,700, nice park upgrade here, and he gets to face the pitcher instead of the DH. I do have some tepid interest here. The Pirates are carrying a 4.7 implied run total. This would be more of a pricing play, but at 5,700 on DraftKings, we get some maneuverability with our bats.
Yeah, I mean, it is a price play here on Norris. It's not like it's a great strikeout spot, but he is really cheap. I think if I had to choose between, out of the games we've talked about so far, you have Eric Fede at 5,900 or you have Norris at 5,700. I would lean towards Norris in PNC against the Pirates. So, yeah, I mean, just a mediocre pitcher at a pretty nice price point.
All right. On the other side, Keller, any intrigue for him? The Detroit Tigers do have a 3.9 implied run total here. We're looking at about a 70-degree first pitch. No real wind, humidity, or precipitation to worry about. Well, I guess the humidity's up there a little bit, probably around 65 to 75%. However, with the temperature hovering in the 70s, low 70s at that really does not get that combination that we're looking for that does help with the home runs, markedly so. What do you like or not like with Mitch Keller at his $6,900 price point?
I love Mitch Keller here.
Is it the price
Detroit,
point?
Yeah, it's a nice price point too. Love Mitch Keller. The Tigers are one of the best strikeout matchups for right-handed pitchers. They have the second lowest walk percentage this season on their active roster. Keller had a couple of tough starts. His first two starts in the majors. He faced Cincinnati in Great American. He got roughed up in the first inning and then turned things around. And then he faced Atlanta in Atlanta and got hit pretty hard, basically immediately in that game as well. This is easily his best or his easiest matchup so far in terms of park and in terms of opponent. At AAA this year, he struck out 30.2% of hitters, walked 10.2%. That's an elevated walk percentage that the Tigers should help to mitigate. And the strikeout percentage is outstanding. He's the number 2 ranked prospect for the Pirates. He's the number 33 ranked prospect in all of baseball, according to the Fangraphs prospects report. And I just think this is a great spot for him. So I rostered him against the Reds. I rostered him against the Braves solely because of his talent and his price point. Now you get that talent at a still appealing price point in an actually good matchup.
All right. It is Mitch Keller is the brother of John Keller, the younger brother of John Keller. You may recognize that name, Adam. He's one of the Orioles minor league players, an outfielder, I believe.
Interesting. I do recognize the name. I couldn't have told you who he was, but I have heard the name.
I'm trying to find any articles on him. There's really not. So perhaps he is a pitcher as well. I can't tell for sure. But there you go, brothers. Anything else from this matchup that you would like to highlight?
No. Mitch. I mean, so I guess you have to point out that Kristen Stewart and Nick Castellanos are both really cheap. But other than that, it's just all about Mitch Keller for me.
All right. On to our next game here. Just to set the stage a little bit with some of the pitching. Zach Eflin, the 5th most expensive pitcher on DraftKings at $10,100. DeGrom is 10-3. Cole Hamels 10-5. Kershaw 11-2. And Verlander in Cincinnati is 11-9. So we've got a bunch of people on the high end. We've got even more on the low end. Below Fetty, we've already mentioned Daniel Norris. They come in at 59, 5,700. You've got Yusei Kikuchi at 53, Ivan Nova at 5, which is up about 800 from his last start. Antonio Sensatella is going in Arizona. He is at 49, and then Gabriel Inoa is at 45. So there are some extremes on DK today. We're not seeing everything as compressed as we had previously, which should make for some fun lineup construction for people that have forgotten how to do that when we have such disparate pricing. Moving along to our next game, Adam, this one is in New York. We have the Rays continuing against the Yankees. You have Ryan Yarbrough at 6,500 going against J.A. Happ at 7,500. Implied run total here, sort of off the charts, 44.7 for the Rays, 5.4 for the Yankees. They are expecting Edwin Encarnacion back, as well as Giancarlo Stanton, Adam. So the rich just got richer. They actually sent Clint Frazier down to the minors on Sunday night. So, wow. Do you want anything to do with these pitchers? I'm guessing probably no for Yarbrough, but J.A. Happ, the lefty, going against a team that has some of their better hitters from the left side of the plate, feels like a little bit of an advantage for him. The rising fastball, though, not as effective as it has been last year and the year prior to that.
Yeah, I mean, if I go to either of the pitchers with any sort of frequency, I would expect it to be Happ, just because Tampa Bay does have one of the highest, if not the highest, strikeout percentages against left-handed pitching this year. Happ is reasonably priced. Still not seeing a lot of strikeouts from him outside of, the occasional start where he does well. So I still prefer Keller for a little bit less against the Tigers. But, the price point's okay for Happ, especially if you're someone playing 150 lineups. If I were, hand building one lineup or playing 3 max or something, Keller would be my priority, though.
All right, and just calling it out there, the Tampa Bay Rays do carry with their active roster the second highest strikeout rate against lefties at 26.5. Mariners have jumped up there to 27.4, getting a few of their players. One, Mitch Haniger out of the lineup. Ryan Healy's still out of the lineup, and then they've traded Bruce and Edwin Encarnacion. They say it's not a fire sale, Adam, but it sure feels like one for the Mariners. Considering the trade with the Yankees, and I went and read this because I was curious to see what they got. I'm like, oh, must be a decent prospect. It was a prospect they traded to the Yankees 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember who they traded him for, but I did see that.
It was like, wait, what? No, that feels silly. That just feels.
I mean, to be fair, that
silly.
does happen occasionally.
It does because your guys get jammed at certain positions in the minors. It happens a lot of times with middle infielders and catchers. From position players, and then it does happen from time to time with pitchers. But it was just like, really, and it wasn't like he even got any better while he was with the Yankees.
Right.
So. That and they're still paying a chunk of Edwin Encarnacion's salary. They got fleeced in this one. I don't know what to say. But let's talk about Tuesday's slate. Reining myself back in. That's enough for the Rays and Yankees. Next game up, the Blue Jays, the Angels. We may have seen Edwin Encarnacion with his Edwin Jackson with his last start. Gave up 3 home runs in less than 2 innings, coming in as the probable long reliever there for Toronto on Monday night. On Tuesday, we're going to get Skaggs and Marcus Stroman, markedly better pitchers here. Skaggs has been intriguing, and I do like this matchup for him. Now, Toronto does have the ability with their many switch hitters to get pretty righty, but I don't hate looking at Skaggs at 8,500. I think he'll be a differentiation play. Not a lot of people are going to head that way. Toronto does have a 4.6 implied run total. On the other side, I'm curious for your take on this one. So Marcus Stroman doesn't strike out a lot of people, but that's okay. The Angels really don't strike out. They are carrying a 5.0 implied run total, but Stroman, if he can limit the damage, would you consider him at 8,000, or would you rather dip down $2,000 or go up $2,000? To some of the other pitchers that we've discussed or will be discussing here on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm not interested in Stroman. Not a strikeout guy, and he's not in a good strikeout matchup here. You can go down to Keller for more strikeout upside. You can go up a little bit to Flaherty against Miami for more strikeout upside. You can go to the other dugout again and take Skaggs for more strikeout upside. I don't really see any reason to have Stroman here.
All right. The only reason I've got Stroman 33 on Yahoo, Skaggs 35, also in the mix there. David Price at 37. Merrill Kelly is, I really don't want to play him, but Brett Anderson. So there's a few guys in that mid-30s range, but that's where he was sort of popping a little bit for me. I kind of agree. 8,100, there are other directions we can go. Skaggs faced Toronto, about a month ago, I think. He had an adequate start. How do you feel about him at 85 on DK or 35 on Yahoo?
I think he's okay. The way the slate breaks down makes it so my exposure may be limited because you have the options at the top, as you mentioned, with Verlander, Kershaw, DeGrom. You have Jack Flaherty against Miami at basically the same price point, and then you have Keller at a cheaper price point. So he might kind of get squeezed out just for those reasons, but I think it's an okay matchup. There is right-handed power on Toronto. I wouldn't be opposed to taking some of them. At least, as one-offs or mini stacks. But I think it's an okay spot for Skaggs. It's just that he looks worse to me than all of the other guys I mentioned.
All right, well, let's get on to the top shelf, guys. Justin Verlander in Cincinnati. This is a 7-10 game. Keep an eye on it. 75% humidity, 80 degrees at first pitch. A little bit of a breeze coming in from left field. We have Justin Verlander topping the charts at 11,900 on DK. He is 6,200 on Yahoo. Those are tops for both of those. On the other side, we have Anthony DeSclafani. 7,100 is somewhat intriguing here on DraftKings, and then 31 on Yahoo because he probably should face 2, maybe 3 lefties, and that's the bane of his existence. This feels like a good spot to go against Houston in what could be an SP2 that is going to be very overlooked. Let's start off with DeSclafani first. Is that crazy talk?
I'm not really interested in him just because the Astros still don't strike out a lot. I do agree that the right-handed heavy lineup is beneficial for him, but he's still in Great American. He's still facing guys that don't strike out much. One thing to keep an eye on if you are interested in DeSclafani is Yordan Alvarez, who actually did start on Monday night. He wasn't in projected lineups because they don't get a DH here, but they went ahead and threw him in the field, which is a liability to say the least, but they went ahead and did it. If they do that again, it gives the Astros another strikeout bat. But when you look at Desclafani's splits and his numbers against lefties, it more importantly gives them a guy who's just going to hit balls to the moon.
All right, JV Justin Verlander, 3.5 implied total for the Reds here. The man needs no introduction. Is this forcing him into our lineups, or do we have enough value at first glance that we can maneuver quite nicely with him as our SP1 anchoring our stats on the two pitcher sides?
I think it's going to be kind of tough. On one hand, he's Justin Verlander. You're not wrong if you play Justin Verlander, but when you just look at it in terms of upside, for one, just looking at like DraftKings pricing, you have a $1,600 difference between him and Jacob deGrom. Yes, deGrom has a tough matchup against Atlanta, but he's still Jacob deGrom at $1,600 less. But also what stands out is that we don't have any really appealing cheap arms. You have Gabriel Anoa at 4,500, which, you could go there, but he's probably going to get you like 12 points tops. And then I'm not looking at Senzatella or Ivan Nova. I don't really want Kikuchi. You start getting to like that 6K range, which it's still doable, but you are starting to lose access. And this is a game that has plenty of bats that we want, or a slate that has plenty of bats that we want.
All right. Let's see. Moving along here. Jake DeGrom going against Atlanta. I say because that is... It's going to be hard to get there, Adam. Just because I do actually respect greatly the Atlanta lineup. But they do have just a 4.1 implied run total here. It's going to be 80 degrees in Atlanta. We're going to have some... we're starting to get the pop-up storms in the area. This does not look as widespread on Tuesday as it was on Monday. And it just all matters if something ends up over the top of the stadium. Welcome to summertime baseball for SunTrust Park. DeGrom at 10-3 on DraftKings. He is at 48 on Yahoo. Feels like a good price point on Yahoo. He is the third most expensive pitcher, but it's Verlander at 62, Kershaw at 56. DeGrom does look appealing at 48 there. I don't really know that I want to get to him on DraftKings at 10,300. How are you feeling about that? Fairly priced for this matchup, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, in tournaments, if you're going to pay up, I think that DeGrom is pretty reasonable just because he does give you a ton of upside at that price point, even though it's a difficult matchup. In cash games, I don't really know. Like, I don't have projections done yet, so I don't really know. I don't want to talk about cash games. But in tournaments, I think that like Verlander is the safer option, I guess. But you're still getting a really, really, really good pitcher at a much cheaper price tag. So if I went to that price range, I could certainly see getting there, especially because he's also $900 less than Kershaw. He's even less expensive than Cole Hamels. The counter argument would be that you could just go like Flaherty SP1, Keller SP2, have a ton of upside, and not be paying up at all for pitcher. That's the route that I would imagine I take. But out of the guys at the top, I think in tournaments, I probably get DeGrom more than anyone.
Okay, and that's a realistic consideration there. On the other side, we have Julio Teheran, 9,500 on DraftKings. He is 40 on Yahoo. We know that it's lefties that give him a little more trouble, but he has been allowing, over the last 18 months, more power to righties. So it seems like it's not quite the liability that it once was. However, this is in SunTrust Park, and we've seen that play up better for power to lefties. We should see Conforto. I guess that's a power bat. Robinson Cano, maybe. I don't think he's cycling at the moment. And Jeff McNeil doesn't seem overly scary here. How are you feeling about Teheran? 9,500. 8,500, I think I might be a little more interested in him. At 40, I think he's on the short list for Yahoo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a price point I just don't really want to get to. The Mets aren't good. The Mets aren't bad. They're kind of just in the middle. You have some dangerous lefties, in particular Michael Conforto. But Teheran's just not that good of a pitcher either. I agree with you. If he were a little bit less expensive, I could see getting there. But he's $800 more than Flaherty on DraftKings. He's $2 less on Yahoo. I'd rather just find the $2 for Flaherty. You can save $9 and go to like a Zach Plesac if you wanted to take if you wanted to take that risk. I just don't really think he's necessary anywhere.
All right, let's get on to the 8 o'clock games here. Again, we have, let's see, 4 of them. So starting off, we have the Chicago White Sox, wait for it, in Chicago against the Cubs. Yes, it is a Windy City series. This one at Wrigley Field. You have Ivan Nova at 5,000, and that's probably appropriate for him, going against Cole Hamels at 10,500. Now, we do know that the Chi Sox really are watered down when they have to lose their DH and go with a pitcher here. Cole Hamels is priced up. 46 on Yahoo is 10,500 on DraftKings. That just doesn't seem too appealing for me, but I do like him on the DraftKings 4-game 8 o'clock slate.
Yeah, I'm not interested on the main slate on DraftKings. I am interested on Yahoo. He's only $46. I think that's a pretty appealing price tag. He's a good pitcher. He's in a good spot. Doesn't look like the wind's expected to be blowing out. But on DraftKings, I just don't really see paying more for him than for Jacob deGrom, even though the matchup is better.
All right, and Nova it feels awfully dangerous even from a price play, but it is a price play on DK. Would he be in the mix to sprinkle people in? Where would you rank him against Fetty?
Doesn't really seem like it'll be necessary. It would be different, I think, if we didn't have like Keller at 6,900 with a monster strikeout upside. It's just if I'm paying down a pitcher, I don't think that on this slate like 10 points gets it done.
All right, let's keep moving on. You kind of hit on Zach Plesac. He is 7,900 on the old DraftKings, 31 here on Yahoo. Very appealing there on Yahoo. On the other side, you have Adrian Sampson. What has Sampson done? What has Ariel Gerardo done to change things? Or have they just been getting lucky at him?
I don't know what Gerardo's done, but Sampson, if I remember correctly, has been throwing his slider a bit more. He has had some success with it. I still don't think he's a great pitcher. I just don't think he's like one of the worst pitchers in baseball anymore, which was my opinion on him earlier in the year. He's not someone that I want to roster with him being more expensive. At $29 on Yahoo, I think that's an okay price point. Still not one that I would be actively seeking out, but not the end of the world there. I would still much rather roster Keller at $28, for example. But not someone that I'm likely to really pick on. I think there's a good chance the Indians, I view the Indians similarly to how I did on Monday night, where they're really cheap. And so some of them are clear cash plays, but in tournaments, they're guys that I'm fine being underweight on because the matchup isn't quite as good as people project it to be.
All right. Yeah. Let's Plesac, FanDuel, or probably Yahoo is the spot for him. We'll see. For me, it's the 91 degrees there in Texas. Makes me relatively less than thrilled to go against him. Texas gaining the designated hitter again after having been in Cincinnati for their weekend series. Moving along to our next 8 o'clock game. This one is at 8:10. It is the Boston Red Sox in Minnesota taking on the Twins, 75 degrees at first pitch. We have David Price, 9,100. Michael Pineda, 7,300. Why are they pricing Pineda like he has some talent? If you're going to play Pineda against Boston, do it over there on Yahoo, where he is 29. I want no part of Pineda at 7,300 against the Red Sox. David Price going against the Twins. Yeah, I'm going to say no to that as well. This game has a 10 run implied total right now. Adam, I think if I was doing anything, it'd be like Cruz, Crone, and then the top 5 or 6 from Boston.
Yeah, I'll say if I was doing anything, I'd be taking bats here. This game doesn't seem like I need to get pitching from it. Pineda against the Red Sox is just something I'm not interested in. Price has been pretty good this year, but the Twins are really good. And to me, this slate is just totally different than yesterday's slate. Yesterday, there was a lot of pitching that was viable, but nothing that you really felt great about. On this slate, it feels like a slate where I'm going to be very concentrated on a handful of pitchers, and I'm going to be spread out amongst my hitters because I think that there are clear-cut pitching at each price point, and to me, David Price isn't one of them.
All right, moving right along. Miami, St. Louis. Jack Flaherty, you've already mentioned him. Dream matchup against the Marlins, who have reared up and gobsmacked a few pitchers from time to time, but I'm willing to take the 3.5 implied run total here and go with Flaherty at 8,700 on DK. He is, where is he? Oh, he is 42 on Yahoo. On the other side, you have Jordan Yamamoto. What do you know about Yamamoto? This will be his second start. The last one was against St. Louis last weekend, where he managed to go 7 innings, allowed no runs, five total base runners, five strikeouts, 95 pitches. Had an amazing outing. Feels a little lucky though, doing that against the Redbirds.
Yeah, not a highly regarded prospect. He's listed as the 25th best prospect on the Marlins, not in the top 100 in baseball. Struck out 23.7% of hitters at AAA this year, walked 9.3%. Doesn't seem like doesn't seem like anything special. Seems like someone who, has the ability on some nights to be good, but more often than not, it's going to be middling to below average. And he's priced up here. No interest on that side of this game.
All right. And Flaherty, I'm speculating, is going to be one of your most popular pitchers across the board Tuesday.
Yep, no question. You're getting a Miami team that we know is a favorable matchup. They probably will have 7 right-handed hitters, including the pitcher. Flaherty has struck out over 30% of right-handed hitters this season. He's just been a totally different pitcher against righties than against lefties. 32.1% strikeout percentage, 273 expected WOBA, 130 ISO allowed. Plenty of strikeouts, not a lot of home runs. And even if it were not a great strikeout matchup, which I guess you could make the argument that a lot of these guys don't have the track record as huge strikeout hitters for the Marlins, but you're still getting righties against a guy who's been dominant against them.
Let's continue on here. Our lone 9 o'clock game. We have the Colorado Rockies at Arizona. The roof will be open at Chase Field. Antonio Senzatella 4,900. Merrill Kelly 8,000. 8,000. That seems about right for Merrill Kelly. He has been both hit and miss this season. He's the guy that had the winding road to the his major league debut this year as a 30-year-old rookie. He spent 5 years in the minors, never got above Durham AAA, then went and spent 5 years in Korea, and here he is now. It is a matchup against the Rockies, though. We know they are not as good away from Coors Field. The neutralizing metrics bear that out. Would you consider Kelly or Senzatella on the main slate?
Not interested in Kelly. Just not a high strikeout guy. And Colorado, I think, can do some damage now that the top part of the order at least is pretty formidable. Blackman, Story, Dahl, Arenado, Murphy. Tapi is in there. He's not bad. So I'm not interested in paying for Kelly. I don't like Senzatella either, but if I were to need a guy, 5K or below, I'd prefer him over Nova.
All right, let's get on to another one near and dear to your heart, the Baltimore Orioles against the Oakland Athletics. Gabriel Ynoa going against Brett Anderson. 5.5 implied run total for the Athletics. Remember, that's not just going against Ynoa. That's also the Baltimore bullpen. Baltimore coming around with 3.6 implied runs there against Brett Anderson at 6,200. That kind of does have Anderson in play somewhat there on DraftKings. And then, oh, thanks. We have Sean Anderson on the slate as well. Let's look at Brett Anderson is 32 on Yahoo. So, there you go. Not horrible. Any thoughts on these pitchers? Also, Chris Davis, 2,400 on DK. That was the original Chris Davis, not Chris Davis with the K. Not the real Chris Davis.
Yeah, not the one that can actually hit. Yeah, both pitchers are just kind of meh to me. Ynoa is the cheapest pitcher on DraftKings in a good pitcher's park. If you get there, then okay. Just make sure that you have all the hitters that you want, because you're probably not getting a lot of points from that pitcher spot. I don't think it's really necessary on this slate, but it's also the night before, so maybe it will be. Anderson, kind of the same thing. He's not a terrible pitcher. It's not a terrible matchup. It's a good park, but he just doesn't give you that same strikeout upside that Mitch Keller does for a little bit more money.
All right. Anything else you want to point out from this matchup?
Nope.
3 to go. Brandon Woodruff against, it looks like the announced starter is Logan Allen. Let's go over here to San Diego. He's not listed yet on the MLB the MLB probable pitchers page. So I'm guessing that means the transaction has not yet been completed for him to be moved up to the major league roster. But assuming it is going to be Logan Allen, he is 7,700 there on DK. Let's see. What do they say about him? He's coming up from AAA El Paso. This will be his major league debut. and they said they needed some fresh arms because obviously after what was there something like 80 something combined runs scored in that Coors Field 4-game
I think it
weekend
was like
series.
90. I think it was
90.
like 92.
Yeah, whatever it was, it set the record for most runs in a 4-game series. So very, very impressive. Do you know anything about Allen? Not the easiest of matchups as going against the Brewers, but we do know a lot of their righties are not great. Slumping, I believe, would be the word between Perez and Jesus Aguilar. What do you want to do with the youngster here?
If you're looking to play him on Yahoo. He's only $25 over there. You're getting the Major League debut discount, whereas on DraftKings you're not. It's obviously a tough matchup against Milwaukee. He looks like he's decent. He's the Padres' number 8 prospect. He's number 113 in baseball according to Fangraphs. He has been, pretty decent at AAA this year. He's struck out 24.5% of hitters, walked 8.6%. Just pretty decent stuff. Not a great ground ball percentage at 46.3%, elevated line drive percentage as well. Not a perfect pitcher by any means, but at the absolute minimum, again, I would still prefer Keller in his matchup for $3 more on Yahoo. But if for some reason you can't find $3, then Allen is the minimum.
All right, let's Woodruff at 93. That's
Yes.
a little
Yes.
pricey, but you do like him though.
Yeah. He's right up there with Flaherty for me.
Okay.
Another reason why I think it'll be tough for me to get the Skaggs, even though I think he's okay, is that you're getting a very right-handed heavy Padres team against Woodruff, who has been good this season and has the platoon advantage in most of these matchups. Against righties, he has a 29.3% strikeout percentage, 268 expected WOBA, 0.081 ISO. He's been really, really good. And he comes in with the third highest strikeout percentage on the slate behind Verlander and DeGrom, slightly ahead of Flaherty. But again, keep in mind that Flaherty has extreme strikeout splits, so he's facing a bunch of righties, so it boosts his projection. But I think Woodruff is on the short list for me.
All right, let's keep on keeping on. 2 more games to go. San Fran versus the Dodgers. This one is in Chavez Ravine. You have Sean Anderson, 6,600 on DK, going against Clayton Kershaw, 11,200. Kershaw is the second most expensive pitcher on Yahoo at 56. You're getting a discount for Sean Anderson at 27. However, the Dodgers are carrying a 5.1 implied run total, and we know they can load up on the lefties with Peterson, Bellinger, Muncy, Verdugo, Matt Beattie if they're really feeling frisky. What do you want to do here with Sean Anderson, if anything?
I would like to take hitters against Sean Anderson.
All right. Now, 3.0 implied run total going against Clayton Kershaw. How are you feeling about the second most expensive pitcher on the slate?
If I get him in some lineups, I'm okay with it. It's just really, really tough because he is still a good pitcher. He's just not as good a DFS pitcher as Justin Verlander or Jacob deGrom. You're talking about Verlander with a 32.8% K percentage this year, deGrom at 29.9%. Kershaw's at 23.6%. He only has walked 4.2% of hitters, which is really good, but it's not like Verlander or deGrom walk a lot of hitters either. So you're basically just hoping that Kershaw has, one of his better starts against a weak Giants team, but also that Verlander and deGrom get touched up a bit. So it's pretty tough for me to get there, especially because normally his past history and his name value leads to him being popular kind of regardless of anything else going on. So it's pretty rare to be able to say like, oh, I can get 3% owned Clayton Kershaw. If that were the case, I would be more interested, but I doubt that it will be.
All right. We are on to the last game. This one's going to be a little bit intriguing, Adam. You have Homer Bailey, 6,700. You see Kikuchi, 5,300 on DK. I do want to point out that the Royals are striking out the 11th most against lefties this season at 24%. They have a 143 ISO, which is in the bottom of the league, and they have an 80 WRC plus, which basically means they score 20% less efficiently than the average team does against lefties when things have been neutralized for park factors. That I did find a little bit surprising considering the number of righties they have on their team. Kikuchi at 5,300 here. We haven't gotten any words about this being a potentially shortened outing for him, have we?
Not that I've seen, though.
Okay, that's one thing that you do want to keep an eye on. They have said they're going to give a couple of his starts this year where they keep him on the same schedule, but they only roll him out for about 50 pitches. In three of his last four, he has not, 92, 79, 73, 74. So maybe they've decided to sort of limit things that way. But 93, 93, 106, 93, and 97. So he's been getting them, but just know that that's lurking because they've said in his first season here in the majors with the extended season compared to what it is in Japan, they are going to more or less cap his innings or number of pitches. So 5,300 for him going against the Royals. Your thoughts?
It's fine. I'd rather roster him than Senzatella, I guess. But I would also rather just find the money for Keller. I don't think Kikuchi is that good. The Royals certainly can help him out. It's not a bad park, but a 16.7% strikeout percentage, 10% K minus BB percentage, 1.8 home runs per nine. Not screaming like someone that I'm actively looking to play.
All right. What about Homer Bailey? If he was 5,700, I would have no problem with it. 6,700, I don't hate it, but I'm not quite as excited. He has allowed just one home run in his last four starts. Of course, two of those he did not make it even into the fifth inning. What do you want to do here with Homer Bailey as our final pitcher of the night?
I'd be more interested if Keller wasn't on the slate, but in case anyone listening hasn't figured it out yet, I really, really like Mitch Keller here, and I'm gonna roster him over Homer Bailey. Bailey is okay. He's okay for a $6,700 pitcher. He wouldn't be surprising if he has a good game, but if I had to choose one, I'm just going with Mitch Keller.
All right. With that, gamers, that's going to wrap it up. Reminder, if you've not yet signed up for Osmo, you can get premium access. That's called Osmo Plus, 50% off with the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, from any 1 month package. And then again, you can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS on Twitter. I am at EMACDFS. It is Osmo_COM. Check out the Osmo account and the sub accounts for MLB, for weather, for the Osmo odds, for Osmo NBA, for Osmo NFL, because they are running promotions from time to time with free giveaways. All you got to do is follow, and retweet with the answer to whatever question they are running, and they've been giving away a month-long and 3-month-long packages. So go ahead and check that out, see what sort of giveaways are happening this week. With that, gamers, good luck.